Broadcast should be going live momentarily.
Sherilyn.
Oddly enough, the way it's spelled.
Works for me.
Didn't hear you. Can you repeat yourself? They didn't hear you. Mr. Formal, did you say? Yes. Mr. Formal. Just harder to fit in your pocket. No, you just,
Skip further
Is that
up
one,
the line.
does that one have the pen built in? It does. Good.
Our dummy phones that we used to get, some of them actually had reopened ones on them. And when those notes first came out, they came in with pens that were $50 all by themselves or something. So when we went to throw them away, we just took them all out, and people would come in, hey, do you have those pens? The original dummy phones all had, like, even the micro USB port was an actual micro USB port. That they just stuck in and didn't connect. I tore a bunch of them apart.
It also doesn't have an SD slot.
No, not really. Sacrifice.
Thanks.
Is that operating?
look at your phone.
Close.
Check your new phone. Yeah.
No, Dave can reach it. That's generous.
Live? Can you hear us now? Actually, if everybody turn their mic on, just go check, check, check. Whoever's listening, can you text Randy and tell him if you can hear us?
Mine's like really yellow, it's not dying.
Yep. Do we have more battery somewhere?
Just seems like it's pretty.
Yeah, just push a button on. Is that on?
No.
You can't hear us? You can't hear any of us?
You can't hear any of us?
You can hear. Hello, check. You didn't hear that. How can you hear yours?
Okay, well,
Should be done before.
which one? The audio. It's
coming through, okay. Okay. Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. I want to acknowledge that the Smoking Valley on which we learn, work, and organize is the ancestral, traditional, and unceded territory of the Smokies people and is home of the Upper Smokeman Indian Band. Adoption of the agenda.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Gould. Seconded, Councillor Willis. Any additions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Adoption. So we got a whole bunch of minutes to go through, so bear with us here. October 3rd, 2022, regular meeting of council minutes.
So
Motion.
moved. Mr.
Thank
Mayor.
you, Councillor Elliott. Seconder, Councillor McLean. Heirs or omissions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. October 25th, special meeting of council minutes.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Gould. Seconder, Councillor Willis. Heirs or omissions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. October 28th, special meeting of council minutes. Councillor, I'm going to give this one to Councillor Elliott. Seconded by Councillor Gould. Heirs or omissions? All in favor? Carried. November 7th, inaugural meeting minutes. Sorry, Andrew. McLean. Willis, all in favor? Carried. And November 14th, committee of the whole meeting.
Make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Gould, seconder, McLean. Heirs or omissions? All in favor? Carried. And this is why we need to change our procedural bylaw.
One more.
Where'd you, oh yeah, one more. November 14th, special meeting of council minutes. McLean,
A second.
Gould, heirs or omissions? All in favor? Carried. Okay, and that gets us to delegations. Sec. Okay. Andrea just said she can hear us now. Okay, so we have some delegations, so I have to read this first. Each delegation shall be limited to 15-minute presentation unless a longer period is agreed on by 2/3 majority vote of council members present. The Town of Princeton Council, by resolution carried unanimously, provides an opportunity for individuals to address council as per delegations petitions with regard to items included in the agenda, excluding bylaws in which the public hearing consultation period has been held. Council reserves the right to refuse an individual to speak if that individual has spoken at previous meetings regarding an item. Individuals wishing to participate in the opportunity are required to put their name on a list and reference the agenda item that will be addressed. Each person will have a maximum of 15 minutes at council's discretion to bring forward their comments. So first one will be Richard. So Richard, please. Floor is yours, my friend.
Well, I was called here to answer questions about the document from Control Union about the SBP audit.
Yeah, can you just explain it to us so we know what we would be giving you a letter of support for, if that's what we
Yep.
so choose?
So the SBP audit is something we do annually. We've done it for, I'm not exactly sure, but probably 7 years in a row. I'm surprised that it's news, because the letter coming to the town, coming to stakeholders, goes out every year. Obviously, some people have never seen it before. It's never been responded to. So specifically, SBP is Sustainable Biomass Program. Control Union is the company that comes in and audits our plant. It's all about sustainable forestry. We don't manage our forests. We buy sawdust, we buy shavings. We don't go into the forest and do it ourselves, so ours is a byproduct. And to be able to sell in Asia, some of the places in Europe, they need certification, and certification there's a whole bunch there's dozens of them, but SBP is a big one. It's a trusted source in a lot of different countries, specifically the UK and South Korea, where we do a lot of our business.
Sorry, Sir Richard, you were asked to come because the piece of paper we got on the last agenda wasn't very specific as to what kind of endorsement you were looking for. Or what they were
to be
looking
clear,
for.
I'm not looking.
Sorry,
I am looking for an endorsement. Always looking
Yeah.
for endorsements, but
But it didn't.
Control Union is really looking for how we've been as a corporate partner in the community. If it comes down to more, do you guys have any outstanding issues with the pellet plant, or any of the practices that we have in the forests or our fiber. Yeah, some of us in the room know of complaints that we've had at the plant, but some of it includes speeding by the truck drivers, emissions, dust, all of that. And if there are issues, now is your chance to actually respond to Control Union and say, we're not doing our job.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
That makes
helps.
sense. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, perfect, thanks.
You very well.
Thanks.
That was simple, eh? Now that we know, we won't have to ask you to come back again if that's the case.
Please, if anybody has any questions, send them to me in writing. I will get a response to just about anything that you can ask.
Yeah,
It's pretty much an open book.
okay, perfect. Perfect, thank you. We'll move on then to Aaron. Aaron wants to speak rezoning amendment bylaw number 103222.
Yes. So good evening, Mayor and Council, staff. I'm here tonight to speak about the pending bylaw reform as a resident and neighboring property owner of the site where the development of a gas station is planned. I plainly need to express how disappointing this actually is. For a town that already has 6 existing gas stations, a development for another is something my neighbors, other community members, and myself just can't understand. This does not seem to have a resemblance of sustainability. Considering we are at the threshold of exhausting fossil fuels within our own lifetimes, a reality that is very much in the forefront of the legislative process, provincially, federally, and internationally. Thus, we as a community must be mindful of the legacy that we're leaving behind for our future generations and residents of Princeton. We're seeing local governments making a decision to actually stop construction and development of petroleum-based fueling stations. In British Columbia, the Comox Valley Regional District this summer rewrote their district zoning rules to shift the focus from fossil fuels to hydrogen fuel and to electric vehicle charging stations. Also, the municipality of Laval, Quebec has actually gone further, and they're no longer permitting the construction of any gas stations to be built. This is something that came out of their urban planning code meeting, where exchanges between citizens drove this change. Princeton is no stranger to environmental hazards, and seeing these hazards, such as the atmospheric river that caused the devastating flood last year, only become more extreme with continued climate change. We should be making a proactive decision to help the world's commitments to climate targets. So instead of building a 7th gas station, perhaps we should be advocating for for charging stations or alternatives to fossil fuels. There should also be consideration that the province passed a Zero Emissions Vehicle Act in May of 2019. This legislation is intended to ensure greater availability of zero-emission vehicles at affordable prices in British Columbia. BC also became the first jurisdiction in the world to legislate a 100% zero-emission sales target. The target is set for 100% light-duty electric vehicles to be sold by 2040. This means that in 18 years, there's going to be a fundamental shift in the auto industry. If gas even continues to remain affordable to consumers, which it's already becoming quite burdensome for most, it just doesn't make sense to build another gas station when the automotive and fossil fuel sector is becoming more fiscally volatile and has a finite number of years left. The community would benefit much greater if Town Hall supported different energy infrastructure, including level 2 electric charging stations or higher, and hydrogen fueling stations. There are commercial vehicle pilot programs in British Columbia underway now, and it would be advantageous for us to be early adopters for these programs. it's only going to be a matter of time until companies and municipalities and regions try to catch up to support these technology changes. And with more and more government programs and incentives, now is the time to plan for the future and to do away with unnecessary expansions of dying supply chains. I'm not done, but I'm just,
Taking a deep breath.
I paused. To be fair, I find it a little disrespectful that you're laughing when I'm doing this presentation. Regardless of all of these points, the largest concern as a neighboring property owner and resident is the undeniable impact of the traffic change to this area. I have written an email to Town Hall the day that I received the notice of intention on November 10th. I'd asked about statements that were within the proposal that indicated traffic impact and management would be dealt by with Modi. I only heard back this evening at 5 p.m. On whether Modi had already completed a traffic study and what that would look like with or without highway access. Seeing that the October 25th council meeting, Councillor McLean asked if there would be highway access to the site, and he was told that Modi would not approve it. How has it been determined if Modi was not approved, that Modi has not approved this, when the proposal review by them hasn't even begun? If this amendment does pass and the proposal is given to Modi, when will we be provided the figures for traffic generation rates? And for what time period are these studies going to be completed? In the summer months, it's already nearly impossible to turn left from Burton onto Highway 3. And how will these new traffic increases be dealt with? Or better yet, how long after the station is built are we going to see another light at that intersection? This is not for the betterment of the community. This is not going to drive tourism. This will only cause a traffic nightmare. And unfortunately, it will be the community that has to pay for the consequences of your decision made here tonight. I want to clarify that this approval of a Centex gas station brings no guarantees of lower gas prices to residents or tourists. I have been closely watching the prices in other communities of Centex, and they are comparable and not significantly lower. Barrie Beecroft and the Cardlock, the Esso Cardlock, already offer discounted gas rates compared to the 4 major stations in town. Another point that I want to address is that there has been mention that the land here has already been contaminated due to a train station having been at this location. This does not justify approving a gas station for Princeton, as this land had been environmentally remediated. It is also laughable that past contamination is an acceptable reason for potential future contamination. You, as mayor and council, must look at the future and not the past, or Princeton will be left behind. We can be as progressive as the Comox Valley Regional District and Laval, Quebec, or risk stagnating the future of this community. Modi may be handling the impact management of the traffic, but it also ultimately lies with the council and the municipality whether this is allowed to move forward. And the results of these outcomes will also need to be assigned fairly to the implementers of these bylaw changes. You, mayor, and council hold the decision-making power to either make Princeton a community to develop sustainably or to support a dying industry that does not support the future of this town. Thank you.
Okay, so good evening, Mayor, Council, and staff. I was asked by Susan Robinson and Peter Conferentin to share their submission regarding the notice of intention to amend the zoning bylaw for the neighboring property to their retail location of 22 Burton Avenue, Princeton, BC, at 245 Highway 3. We are opposed to the bylaw change and the placement of a gas station on this property. Our reasons are as follows. 1, erection of an additional building on that property and the dispensing of fossil fuels only diminishes the healthful and natural experience of exercise physical movement on the adjacent beautiful walking trail, the KVR. The mayor himself dismissed the introduction of an additional gas station when commenting on the Vermilion Fork Métis Association building in July 2021 and its varied use versus, quote, just another gas station, unquote. In the plan, there appears to be no consideration for any other power refueling, despite our provincial and federal government support, and the plan for fossil fuel minimization within the next 10 to 20 years. Everything on their site is flammable. 2, based on the drawings, it looks like the fuel tanks will be underground. At each environmental inspection of our property, we are required to answer questions regarding adjacent and nearby fueling centers. It is never positively viewed or assessed to have fuel tanks close by. The history of the bulk tank experiences is negative in this area. Everyone is aware of the repeated testing ongoing annually in this geographic area of Princeton. 3, failure to address the issue of residential zoned property directly besides the proposed gas station. Fletcher Home Building Center, not Fletcher Hardware, is zoned residential at the town's insistence and is the most exposed neighbor to this proposed development. Clearly, Fletcher HBC is zoned incorrectly. If the town continues to insist on the residential zoning for Fletcher, then having a gas station next to residential zoning is a poor fit and unacceptable and ironic to us. 4, an OCP review has been underway twice in the past 5 years and is not finalized according to the proposal documents, despite repeated requests to inform the public of the OCP revisions. Nothing has been shared to date. The only response has been to say the OCP was still under review. What will dictate the suitability of this business in this area? Question. 5, the proposal says the development permit will ensure the development will meet the town standards in relation to A, attractive appearance, B, building and site design, C, landscaping, D, parking, E, signage, F, access, G, traffic impact. And in the section under background, the town admits the property is non-conforming in the areas of A, minimum 3-meter wide landscape strip, B, minimum 3-meter parking setback, C, minimum 10-meter setback of fuel distribution pumps, D, minimum 7.5-meter front setback, E, minimum 4.5-meter exterior side setback. And also, without public consultation, which was waived, how can the neighbors support this bylaw change? We have many concerns that do not appear to be addressed in this proposal, and failure to consult with the neighboring community is simply sad. We are a town with the ability to share and communicate well. It appears with regard to zoning and property use, decisions are made without consultation. Sincerely, Susan Robinson and Peter Comforton. Thank you.
Move on. Next one is a staff report, Town Hall office hours, Christmas break, CAO.
This is an annual request. It's something that we do every year at Christmas time. We close the office and the visitor center down for the week of between Christmas and New Year's. We incorporate the stat holidays, and we close the other 3 days, and that is without cost to staff or payment to staff, and staff usually save up some holidays or personal days, and they take it at that time.
Questions, comments, motion? Councillor McLean?
I'd make that motion. The question was, we still will have emergency
Yes,
staff
Yep.
available.
you bet. On-call emergency.
Thank you. So we have a mover and a seconder. Any questions on the motion? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next one is the development variance permit for 110 Grove Street. Mark, did you want to speak to that?
Thank you. We've got a development variance application for 110 Grove Street, zoned RS1 in a low-density residential area, commonly known as the mine subdivision. The applicant has an open accessory building, building permit, and allowed carriage houses in RS1 zones. They have since approached us with interest in putting a suite in the accessory building. They have a 2.2 meter existing rear setback. In this case, the rear setback is a side yard on a street as well. So if you look at the plan, it's a little confusing that it's the back, but it is. So they've asked for a variance from 3 meters, which is the permitted rear setback area, down to 2.2 meters.
Questions? Councillor Gould?
I know we've sent letters to the neighboring properties. Did we hear anything back from them?
There was no correspondence back on this application.
When we're doing carriage houses and they're gonna be at a higher elevation, is it possible to limit size of windows on those that are gonna overlook properties? Or is it something that we should even consider?
We don't regulate form and character for residential builds, other than the bylaw regulations. Yeah,
Just height.
I should add the 3 meter rear setback was put in place for that height issue.
Okay.
A regular accessory building can be, I believe it's 1.2 meters from the rear setback. They put that up to 3, taking into consideration you're looking into your neighbor's backyard.
Yeah, and in looking at it anyways, they're gonna go from the Edgewood Drive access
Yes.
to that, so that would probably be a side.
Yeah,
The
After-
building's already there, right?
yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
so it's
Yeah.
just a,
They're just gonna go up one more level.
It's actually,
It's already there.
it's all there, it's all, the exterior of the building is relatively complete. It was,
gonna be a shop. Now it's a,
what do you call it, frog space, above a garage to start with,
Okay.
and they're looking at,
Start.
turning
Well.
it into it.
One more residence. That's good.
any other questions?
Thanks.
Somebody want to make a motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, Councillor Willis, seconded Councillor Elliott. Any questions on the motion? All in favor? Carried, thank you. Quarterly reports policy. So this is mine. So I'm asking council to, with the changes coming up with our schedule of meetings, I would like to have we'll have to change the dates to coincide with the minutes, or the meeting days. Have a quarterly report from department heads and managers on our committee of the whole meeting, the next committee whole meeting after the end of the quarter. Any
So-
questions?
No questions, but would you just change the,
Yeah, we'll just change it to match
document
the schedule as it comes out.
so, or even you could just state committee of the whole meeting in the month of?
Yeah, we can just change that. It's
And then
in
it
the
doesn't
policy.
inform.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. That's a lot of sirens. Any other questions? Okay, can I get a motion that we accept Councillor McLean?
And I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor Gould. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. And next one is the 7.2, which is council appointments. I think you guys all got the updated version. It's what we discussed in committee of the whole. you see any errors or anything on there, please let me know.
I think that's all good now. from
Okay.
there, so.
If not, then can we get a recommendation? Can we move the recommendation? Thank you, Councilor McLean, seconder.
I'll second.
Elliott, all in favor? Carried, thank you. And we go to correspondence received and filed. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. So 8.1 is Ministry of, yeah. Where did I? Oh, I didn't see that. Council verbal. I didn't highlight it. Council verbal response. Updates. Sorry. Councilor Elliott, you can start.
Okay, lots of meetings. I'll just try to highlight a couple. November 9th, Princeton Museum Society meeting, and we discussed putting together a program to hire a museum assistant, and tomorrow I'm going to go over the resumes with the museum to see who has applied. I've been told quite a few very qualified people have applied for that position. November 15th, a couple of meetings, Healthcare Steering Committee and Princeton Exhibition Association. And yesterday I attended a celebration of life for Heather Gillis Johnson. Well attended. A lot of people will remember Heather when she was here as a real estate agent at Realty World, eventually Century 21. And that's my report.
Thank you. Councilor McLean.
Aside from numerous council meetings, I have nothing else to report.
Thank you. Councilor Willis.
Pretty much follow Randy there. We have quite a few special meetings and committee of the whole.
Thank you. Councilor Gould.
I don't have my phone, so I can't confirm the date, but I attended the inaugural RDOS meeting with Mayor Coyne and was sworn in as alternate director. And Mayor Coyne can give his update on his extra position there. And on the 15th, I attended the PXA meeting with Councillor Elliott. And last Wednesday, I attended a workshop put on, hosted by the Community of South Okanagan's Milkmean Foundation. And it was for the alcohol use disorder. And it was pretty interesting to learn that it's a pilot project in Princeton, and it's a Canadian Alcohol Use Disorder Society out of Penticton. So it's actually quite local, and it's basically just to bring awareness and lower the stigmatism that's attached to alcohol use. And it was interesting to note that the low risk standards that used to be 3 drinks per day, 5 days a week, or 2 drinks per day, 5 days a week, is now just 2 drinks per week. So if anybody has any questions or wants to know more about what they can do, if they have questions about their alcohol use, they can talk to their family doctor, because there's studied medications that's now giving people better chances of success of reducing or eliminating their alcohol use. So that is my report.
Thank you, and thanks for going to that. Unfortunately, that was a hard day to make it to. So other than all the council meetings, been pretty busy with regional district. We did the inaugural meeting on I believe it was the 10th, where I was reelected as the vice chair of the regional district for another year. Then we had another regional district board meeting on the 17th, budget meeting on the 18th, and then this week we got 2 meetings that I believe all the council's going to come to as well. Wednesday we went to we had a Smoking Valley Planning Society meeting where I was appointed as the chair of the Smoking Valley Planning Society. Wednesday later that day was when we were forced to close the road over here due to some instability in the hillside, and maybe I'll get the CAO to do a quick update on that. There's work being done right now, and we had a geotech done on Friday, and work has began to mitigate that so that we can get the road open again. So with that, and earlier today there was an announcement by the province. There's a new housing act coming out that's I had to sit in on a meeting after, It doesn't look like it's gonna apply to us right now. It's going to, but what it sounds like is they're going to start with the communities that have the speculation tax, and they will have to meet certain criteria where they will, it's gonna be really hard for them to deny housing of any sorts by the looks of it. So we're waiting. There were some legal emails going out today, and the UBCM will have a position on it soon. So when that comes out, we'll send it out to everybody. They said though, if you're rural or remote, it's going to be a few years before it gets to you guys. So I'll just pass it over to the CAO, and he can give a quick update on where we're at with the Old Headley Road situation.
Yeah, so just quickly, the geotech came in on Friday and confirmed that there is movement, and water has changed a little bit in that area. He's come up with a plan of action for us, and we're following that. Step one is to remove the trees above the instability area. He noted that we had a big windstorm in the spring, and a number of trees fell over, and the root ball exposed the ground, and the ground has a layer of clay and silt over top of bedrock. And so he feels that the moisture that is in the, the rain and snow and whatever is going into this new area and causing instability. So he's asked that we cut down those trees, leave the roots intact, but cut down the trees so that we eliminate the windfall action. And then once that's complete, then we will remove the loose debris at the bottom and expose an area where future tumbling of rocks and whatever can fall into a bit of an area, containment area. So that'll also contain the water that's coming down, directed to a culvert that has been blocked by the debris, and we'll be able to remove that. Tree removal was started today. It'll probably be completed tomorrow, and the debris field will be worked on probably Thursday.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Councilor McLean, you had a question?
I was unable to attend that meeting. Was looking forward to it, and business came up. My question has to do with the fact that I can never remember the name of the center that you've talked to the ministers about in terms of a
Inclusion?
Oh, the Resiliency Center?
Yeah, Resiliency Center. Did that discussion come up at that meeting? Because it would seem to really fit hand in glove with.
That was one of the, if I could, it was one of the tools that would be used. It's not under that umbrella though. It's more of like, how as a community can you support people within your community? And that was the Resiliency Inclusion Center was one of the things that was discussed, because there was representatives from Interior Health there was doctors there were psychiatric nurses there was a lot of good representation, and it wasn't specific to one immediate remedy. It was like, and it's a blanket system, a blanket, how can we treat multiple levels of it, because it's not a dollar-based, it's not a housing-based thing or homelessness. It can affect anybody, really.
It just would seem to me it's one of the causes that could enter into that whole, when we listen to you speaking on our behalf with the ministers, it's just one of those items that could fit into that center.
Yeah,
something that we need to keep our eye on.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question about
Yeah,
CAOs?
for sure.
I imagine that an emergency's been invoked, or emergency act's been invoked, so is the funding gonna be covered through that?
Yes, the EMBC has given us a task number, and we can charge back to that.
Thank you.
I believe Jared said something about we've already started some EAFs, is that correct? Yeah. So, and Fortis is doing some of the work, because it's on their line right away, so they're looking after the Asplin thing,
Yeah, they're looking after the tree removal because of the proximity to the power line.
and then we'll deal the debris removal after, so it's kind of a team effort.
Just wondering about funding.
Okay, if there's no more comments, so we'll move on to correspondence received and file now that I'm back on track. So we have 8.1, which was a Ministry of Jobs, Economic Recovery and Innovation UBCM follow-up. Correspondence from the Honorable George Heyman, which is 8.2. A letter from the Honorable Dean, Mitzi Dean, Minister of Children and Family Development, 8.3. And then 8.4, which is Policy Directive 22-14, Producer Retail Store License for Cannabis Sale. These are just for receive and file. Thank you, Councillor Willis, seconder. Councillor McLean, questions or comments?
I have a
Yep.
question. So on 8.4, it was actually an invitation to get some more information in regards to it. But it's on our November 21st agenda, and it was November 8th. So is there a reason why we didn't get that?
I think it's just when it came in, I'm not too sure, but I did attend the.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay. So was it meant for council to attend?
No, it was just an information thing. It's just basically the new policy says that a manufacturer or producer can now sell on site.
And I believe that is in anticipation of the farm gate sales that they
Yes.
are going
That's
to.
right.
That's
And
they
that,
announced earlier this year.
It comes into effect November 30th. So it's not nothing that we could do anything about. They're just telling us it's happening and this is what it is. So.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
Okay. We have a motion on the table. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. There is no correspondence action required. Next one is the Council Procedures Amendment Bylaw number 1033, 2022. And just before we do that, I do have to make a change because I missed it the first 2 times around. June 12th should be June 14th. And then Councillor Gould did have a question about July 10th to, July 12th, and if we could do it on a Monday, which is July 10th, if council is willing to move it to that date. It's up to you guys. Consensus?
There were other dates that were moved a day or two, so I was just wondering if we can make it, then I can attend.
Yeah, you're on nights that day, so if everybody's okay with that, we'll move that to July 10th. It's a
It'd be
Monday.
a Monday.
Yep. You got that, Mark? Okay. So with that, the amendments, we get a motion that we, council give the council procedure amendment bylaw number 1033, 2022, first, a second, and third reading. Thank you,
So
Councilor McLean.
seconded.
Elliot, last questions or comments? All in favor? Carried, thank you. And then the last one is 10.2, the zoning amendment bylaw. Mark?
Thank you. So we are giving, from our contracted planners, recommendation for third reading of the zoning amendment bylaw for 245 Highway 3. Since the first and second readings of that bylaw, internal and external referrals have all gone out. Public notice went out waiving the public hearing. We received correspondence back similar to the delegation comments received tonight. I will say as well, to the point of Aaron's email response being delayed, unforeseen circumstances, and certainly apologize for the delay in that being get back to him. That reply came right from our contracted planner.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Councilor Gould?
What was the response to that? Like that Modi didn't?
So it was mostly clarification that the approval from Modi comes after third reading.
Okay. So, okay, that's good.
So this is not adoption, this is just third reading, and Modi would have their say on it after that.
Right.
Because we only did the first 2 readings last time, so it could go to public.
Right, but we didn't do public hearing. Can I keep going?
Yeah.
So it didn't go to public hearing because of the fact it fits with the existing OCP, be it under review or not, but the existing OCP has that, that permitted use that would encompass a gas station, a permitted
Our
use,
highway corridor, which would
right?
to Ottawa or
So we're not changing zoning, we're just changing the,
we're, sorry,
sorry, maybe I'm confused for a
we're
second.
changing the zone.
We are
the
changing
land
zone
use
amendment,
remains the
not
same.
the OCP,
Yes,
sorry.
correct. No,
That's
the
what I
OC,
meant.
it fits the OCP, the zoning was not the same as the OCP.
Right. And in speaking to that, there was comments in the, and I know that's not what we're talking about, but there was comments in the delegations about the OCP currently under review. I do have a question for you, and maybe, that is still, nothing's been brought to us yet, right? There's been no plans.
They're still working on it. That's a big project. So
Yeah.
Actually,
So,
Mark, do you have update on that part? You've been working on it.
because we're anxious to see that too.
I can make a comment on that. We have received a draft I don't even know if I would call it a draft quite yet. A copy with notes and scribbles and comments from the contracted planner for review from staff. Mostly questions still on, what they're interpreting from the review process.
Right, and there will be opportunity for that at another time. to
Yes,
have
and there's
discussions
already
with the
been
public.
just to be clear, there
Yes.
already has been public consultation and engagement. There was a number of evenings, there was a number of meetings, right?
Yeah, so there was three workshop opportunities virtually, and there was opportunity sent out through what's our app
Oh, yeah, there was
Yeah,
chance to comment, there was also the
Mhm.
workshops.
survey that was
Because I sat
out
in
there
on a
as well.
couple of them and listened.
So
and
There-
stuff.
phase one of the whole process was the public consultation. There was talk of trying to be through this next phase by the end of the year. Obviously Carrie is our lead on the project, so I don't think I'll give a timeline at the moment.
okay, and so me further carrying, just about my comments and opinions on this application that's before us. So, it's my belief, and I've checked with staff, that our role is not to determine whether, like, another industry would be viable or supported, right? Is with the change of going 100% electric by 2040, is that gonna support a gas station? That's not the question here. That there are questions that, or concerns, much like you have with the underground tanks, because I've had to try and find out who regulates that in reality, right? But there's at this point, at this stage, we're just changing the zoning
Yeah, that's
to allow that permitted use. Then any concerns about environmental effects in the community or traffic impacts and stuff will come at the next stage. Am I right? The next stage, like when it comes to
Let's jump in.
development.
So
And-
those referrals are, we're in phase one of 3 through the planning department, basically, so.
But it's
in this
separate
case-
from this.
So in this case, it goes through the rezoning, which has the opportunity for referral. Then next would come the development permit, which speaks to the actual development of the project.
Right.
And that process is essentially repeated once we have the proposed design of the project. And then if there is variances required as spoken to in this amendment, they've given us their potential sketch.
Right.
And the contracted planner spoke to the immediate variances that they've seen, if that's the proposal they bring forward. for
Right,
the
okay.
development.
So just to be clear too, this is the zone change from C2
Yep.
to CS.
Correct.
So C2 right now is central business. Can you explain to the council what central business means?
So central business is designed for our town center, especially if you think of Vermilion Ave and Bridge Street. There is a kind of a Y-shaped map that we actually have in our OCP that outlines our town center. It's forgiving in setbacks. It's forgiving in to allow limitations in parking to really be a town center.
Yeah.
This this parcel falls under our highway commercial OCP land use, not our town center land use.
Which is
So-
closer together and,
Would put it into highway commercial.
Correct.
So that's, so that would be just like all the other highway commercial on there. And right now, the proposal is for a gas station, but if they don't get all their permit, it's
Right.
still gonna be highway commercial, not
It-
town center.
Sorry, it's in our highway corridor, right? Our language is confusing, and highway commercial and highway corridor are both used, so it's in our highway corridor development permit area, which allows the next step of the process, and it's in our highway commercial land use.
okay. So then the other thing that I would have, like me personally, in looking at this and approving it, like, the plan even sets out that they know that they're gonna need to ask for a variance based on setbacks and stuff like that. Those things are all dealt with later. So it's not on us to be determining whether or not that particular business is gonna be a viable business. It's about determining usage.
Correct.
So the MODI, the traffic issue is gonna be dealt with later. It's not part of this.
It's actually both. So MODI gets to review it at the rezoning stage, and they also get a referral during the development permit stage as well.
Okay. So the concern about the setbacks at the front or the setbacks of the fuel station from the trail is all still negotiable or determined, right? Like if council determined that we weren't going to approve it, or if we did approve it, that's at the next stage. Okay. Thank you.
I feel like this is asking to put it in the zone it should be in, right?
Right.
And it's not, my final point would be that it's not for us to determine whether a business is gonna make it in the next 18 years because of change of, like, if they wanna try, I don't know. That's what I'm asking, is it up to us? Sure.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor. Councilor Lewis has made the motion. Councilor McLean is seconding. Any last questions or comments?
Sorry, I had one more. Your presentations, is that possible to have it as part of it, or can we accept that if they have a written presentation?
Want to submit it?
I would have to ask for Susan and
Yep.
Peter's approval, but I believe
Absolutely.
we did send Mark something yesterday.
Just so that we have it on file. Thanks. Yeah, we do have an audio recording of it too, but, so, sorry.
Any last questions or comments? Good, I'm gonna call the question on favor, and that is carried. So that takes, we do have another thing, and that's whether or not we're gonna get Jason's letter of recommendation.
Oh, to add that.
For, what's the company called, Drax?
Tracks.
So do we need to amend the agenda?
Yeah.
New business?
It's a carryover from old, I don't have the.
It would be in the minutes, yes.
From, there it is. Sorry, no, I don't. I thought that was it. But that is not it. It would just be on it last time's agenda.
Yeah, we can look it up.
So make a motion. That.
Provides a response
SB. SB,
Sustainable biomass.
biomass.
Are we allowed to say anything positive in there?
My only request is that Mark ranks it, because I've never had him say something positive.
I just wanted to comment on the corporate citizen that I call it cogen, I'm sorry, I
Yep.
can't keep track of the name, but has been over the years. And
Yeah.
just if there's a spot in there to be able to comment on that,
It's really a very open question. They're asking for support, they're asking for however you guys feel about the company.
So
Over
I'm
the
gonna
past.
ask, can you come up to the podium? We're back here. People are asking questions. Just to clarify, since Drax has taken over, you guys have actually reduced production to bring your air quality.
We have, yeah. When Drax took over the company, there was some MOE, outstanding permit issues, and prior to the negotiations, Drax dropped production completely. We've reduced our emissions by 40% year to date. By 2025, it's a pretty aggressive plan, but we will reduce our emissions by 67%. That's the target. We'll also increase production, so.
Is there a plan in place for dust control?
Yes. Dust control, emissions control, pollution control. There's a plan for a fence all around the property. There's a plan for access. They're very aggressive. They're very safe. They're very efficient. Yeah, yeah. This letter's getting better and better. It's a complete, for us, it's a complete change. It's a humongous company. It's safety first, efficiency second, and they hammer it home every day.
Perfect, thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else have a question? Call the question, all in favor? Opposed?
No, sorry, I was in favor.
We
was
have
just
a
delayed.
motion to adjourn.
Hold it. I had 2 requests. If it's possible to ask of staff, design and cost of a system for council. I'm sitting here with complaints about hearing and whatever on my phone.
December, we should have something.
Okay, and the other one was design and cost of a vehicle GPS coverage.
Yeah, I believe that James is working on that, or?
It's, the negotiations are ongoing.
Excuse me?
We're working on the system right now.
Okay, well, it'd be nice to be able to put in front of us some kind of a
Yeah.
ballpark figure of what it's gonna cost us.
We'll work on a budget and a timeline.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Councilor Rhodes, second. Any objections? Just double check.